Hi, it's Heather Smith here. I was recently speaking with a client and she was asking me why her Xero files were nothing like the actual financial statements, the profit and loss on the balance sheet that the tax accountant had submitted to the tax office. And there were nothing alike. There was no lines alike. There was a significant amount, like hundreds of thousands of dollars difference between what was in her Xero file and what was in her financial statement. And I too was kind of perplexed by this, and I sort of went through various reasons why this could happen. Now, primarily this is going to be down to that the accountant doesn't fully understand that Xero is a single ledger. So let me go through some of the reasons. The accountant didn't understand, the tax accountant didn't understand how to finalise the accounts in Xero and doesn't understand Xero as a single ledger, and the adjustments and the tax submission can happen within the Xero platform. So if you as a business are using Xero, you're in a sort of slightly better position if your actual tax accountant is also using Xero, because it sort of means all the systems are talking together and it should be cheaper. So the accountant may perhaps be processing the tax in an external solution outside of Xero. So they're doing it in an external solution outside of Xero. They're doing the processing, but what they're not doing is getting their work papers and getting their adjustments and bringing that back in to Xero. So you're not seeing that, and that could be happening. So we perhaps would see a manual journal on the 30th of June, but over a number of years that would be accumulating, and that information is not coming back into your financial data. So the foundation of what you're looking at is gradually becoming eroded and becoming more and more distant from what's actually been submitted to the tax office. So it may be that in your relationship with your tax accountant, you've only agreed for them to do a tax submission. You're not paying for them to actually finalise the accounts and bring the finalised data back into your Xero file. This may be a separate service that you have to pay for with them, so you need to talk to them about that. And what you need to ask is, are you going to prepare the end of financial year journals if you're not working within Xero? Are you going to prepare those end of financial year journals? And they would be entered as manual journals into Xero. So you may actually have it. And what I suggest is you go through your email and search through your email correspondence with your tax accountant, and maybe it's sitting there as a journal that you actually need to manually enter yourself under manual journals. So that may be a situation of parts of the business, what's in the Xero file is not everything that covers what runs under the Australian business number that you're reporting on. So maybe you've only targeted one segment in your Xero file, and maybe you need to include other groups or segments or businesses within that Xero organisation. So typically, one Australian business number equals one Xero organisation. That's typically how I would work it out. So is there a rental property? Is there an income stream that is happening, but you aren't recording it within Xero for whatever reason? Can you bring that into Xero and put it in there just so you're getting complete records, just that you can align? Because I should be able to look at those financial statements and look at Xero, and sometimes the lines might be worded differently. They may use a different terminology, but the final figures should be the same, exactly, spot on. Another reason that there could be a difference is that the bank or business accounts, maybe your bank accounts, your credit card accounts, your PayPal accounts, are not actually sitting in Xero and not being processed in Xero. Any business accounts need to be in Xero. Really want them in Xero, whether they're coming through an automated bank feed or whether you are importing them in on a monthly basis. I know it's a bit of a pain, but we really need complete information. For you to make decisions in your business, you need complete and accurate information. We really want to have that information there. So one of the telltale signs is that you don't have complete information in your business is go and look at your profit and loss statement, call it up for maybe a 2-year period or for a 1 whole year period, maybe 1st of July through to 30th of June for a whole period, and search to see if you've got a line item called depreciation, because depreciation will typically be information that the tax accountant adds to your accounts, and so you'll know that he or she's coming in and manually adding that information to your accounts. Have a look for depreciation, see it's there. The other thing is to go and have a look at your manual journals area under the advisor tab, manual journals, and see if manual journal is being entered as at 30th of June of the financial period. And the other thing that I would take a look at is have the conversion balances being put in for your business. So the actual foundation, the actual starting figures are there if you were running the business prior to coming across to Xero. Okay, now another tip I have for you, one final tip I have for you. If you want to see how people are actually using and accessing your Xero file, your Xero organization, go to the advisor tab, search for Assurance Dashboard, and on the very first page there you can see user activity, and the user activity will show you how much activity the tax accountant is actually spending in your user file. So I just worked with someone and we couldn't see that the tax account had actually even ever accessed the file in the last year, which was quite unfortunate. We went to another area and we did find that they were briefly in for a few moments, but we didn't see any actual activity in the file. So if they just go in and print the reports off, that won't be shown in that area. But if they go in and do anything in the file, that will be shown in that area. So that's under the Assurance Dashboard, under the Advisor tab, and you can see the user activity. You can also see, just as an extra note, when the last time they'd logged on to the file by going to settings, general settings, users, and you'll be able to see a list of users who are accessing your file and the date that they last accessed the file. So this is about, in sort of a perfect, if you're working within the Xero system, it's really beneficial for the accountant to be working within the Xero as well, and working within that single ledger process. There's nothing wrong with accountants working in a separate system. My own accountant doesn't work in the Xero system, which is perfectly fine, and I enjoy understanding how he is doing it. But our solutions match to the cent. Okay, so he extracts the data, and we align it all, and it comes back and it matches to the cent. So that's what we really want to see. Your Xero file should be matching your financial statements that your tax accountant is producing and submitting to the tax office. You are totally responsible for that information is submitted, and you're the one who actually needs to justify it. So go back. I've given you a few tips and tricks to ask your tax accountant about, and it might be asking them for work papers, and it might be asking them for end of financial journals. You may not have paid for that service, and you need to consider whether you want to pay for it and get them to do it, or whether you want to do it yourself. I know I've done it myself for a number of people, and it can take a couple of hours to do. It can really, it's quite, it's a bit of a nightmare to try and do. So you may prefer it for them to do it for you, because trying to align everything up can be a bit of a headache, let's put it nicely. So hopefully that's useful information, and hopefully that gives you some sort of positive steps to take if your accounts are not looking the same, and if everything's set up correctly and everything's working correctly, I expect your Xero organization to look accurate within about a 24 to 48 hour period. I expect the data to be correct during business hours, 24 to 48 hour period, and that's really what the goal is. So that would be sensational. Hopefully that's useful for you. Okay, cheers.